you and your co-founders have developed the Future Armenian with this intention to think about the future of Armenia as a nation. I'm just thinking, okay, great, that's wonderful, but the future without a healed community, without a united, healed community, especially given the accumulated traumas, atrocities that keep recurring and that is embedded in us, how do you actually think about the future if you're not even presently in that space?
It's a great challenge, and it's a good way to actually make this point, but in a different setting, which I haven't made in the form of your question. I'd ask the question in reverse. How could we possibly prioritize healing if we don't have some ambition about the future? Like, what are we healing for? The reason I would argue we're not healing is because we have no vision of a future. And so why are we healing? We just keep kind of wallowing in our sorrow and in our unfortunate kind of situation. And that's a psychological state in of itself. It's not a bad place to be. There's entire countries who kind of revel in their disadvantagedness, and we're kind of stuck in that mode. So I would argue the opposite. I would say that a vision of a future, not one person's vision, a common vision, a popular vision of a future, that means people have to accept it, is a motivation to make the sacrifices, to heal, to listen to each other, to reconcile, to enable. Without that, what's the goal? Persistence cannot be a goal. I mean, it is a goal in the majority of the world. Right. But so I actually think your point is a good one, in that I think if you said, let's heal first and then plan the future, I would say, why are we healing? Why are we healing? I mean, you might say, well, it's a normal human condition to want to heal. No, it's not. People are perfectly happy living in conflict with each other, because there's the self and then there's the other. And most of us kind of feel good about criticizing the other. And the more different the other is from us, the easier it is to criticize. Well, that's the will to power, right? You try to be divisive as much as possible and to show that that's human nature. Yeah. And so what counteracts that, in my view, people collaborate if they have a common enemy. If the common enemy in this mode is building a future that's going to be tough to achieve, but then can be rewarding, so the common challenge, not enemy, that might unite us. But if you have no, like I said this for decades in the diaspora, in Armenian diaspora, people are like, why are you talking about the future of Armenia? I said, because it could unite us. Like, if the only thing that unites us is that we're going to complain about genocide recognition, that's going to drag us backwards. But if even the genocide recognition is a futuristic activity, because you're imagining a day when they've all accepted it and you're working towards that goal. Well, imagine if a bright Armenia, a sustainable, prosperous, fair, democratic, all the things we wish for at Armenia, is the objective of any diasporan who has the means, whatever, the intellect, the education, then like you have done to move here, that to me unites us, heals us. So healing doesn't mean you sort everything out. Healing means you overlook a bunch of things. You overlook a bunch of things to an end. You don't overlook them if there's no end. You acknowledge it. I wouldn't say you forget it. It's not necessarily you acknowledge it. But you overlook it because you have a bigger goal. Right. So anyway, my point is actually, I don't know, I think we as humans, this is an important thing for at least in my life. We as humans have given many faculties intellectually. We don't think about it that way. Reasoning is the one that, in my view, is a muscle that we've overgrown. And education forces you to be a reasoning engine. Imagination is massively underdeveloped. And it's almost discouraged. Are you talking about here in Armenia or in general? In general. So I'm saying the more educated people get, the less imaginative they get. I'm excluding arts, but they really do. Even in arts, they become much more, the more knowledgeable you are, the less imaginative you have to be, is the trade-off people make. It's quite the difference. Imagination allows us to envision a future that's more desirable than our present, and then it gives us the motivation to make the sacrifices and the trade-offs of uniting and healing needed to get there. I agree. That's the thing I've learned, and that's startups take imagination, entrepreneurship takes imagination, saving human lives takes imagination. Because you got to imagine that you're going to live after you've saved their lives. Like if you're going to die, that's becoming a hero. So all of this to me are interesting cross currents that we experience.